Okay, well let's, sure. So liposomes were, I think they were developed, this is more of a supplement base. Liposomes are developed somewhere in the 60s. The idea then was to impregnate the liposome with a medication. Back then the idea was for tumors and cancer specifically, because you can vary the size of the liposome, so that you can actually get it into the tissue. It's a very expensive process, or it was at least back in the day. Now technology's increased, it's a lot more viable, and somewhere along the line somebody came up with the idea of why don't we put in your minerals and vitamins, right? Like vitamin C is probably more common, B complexes, ALA, there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. The beauty of this then is if you consider that if you were to get anything intravenously, it's 100% bioavailability, meaning that you're getting 100% of what's been put into you. That number gets skewed a lot more when you look at granules. The hydrochloric acid in your stomach is going to start to break down some of these, supplements. And then what's your absorption rate? It might be pretty low. Again, it depends on what it is. Different minerals, different vitamins will absorb different ways. But the liposomal at least has a 98% bioavailability. So it's going to survive through your stomach. It's going to get uptaken very quickly. Time will be decreased if you ingest food. The liposomes will get enveloped or wrapped around your food particles, so over time then it will just be slower absorbed. If you want something like hot, fast, empty stomach, boom, it's in you, and generally you can feel it right away. Does that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it more expensive to buy those?
Yeah, it is.
Because of the process?
Yeah, because of the process, absolutely. Maybe one day it'll be a little bit cheaper, but again, I'm okay with stuff like that. I spend the majority of my money on food. Because what you eat becomes you. Other things to consider with that too that I didn't really get into, but there's a big movement with organic, and organic's cool too, but if your food's been picked from, say, California 2 weeks ago, and it gets to you and it's organic, it doesn't really matter, right? That food wants to survive. As soon as it's been uprooted, it's going to start to consume its own nutrients to survive. So by the time you get it, and you're looking at about a 3-4 day window here, you've lost about 40% of its nutrient value, right? So now you're paying top dollar for something that's organic, cool, but you just don't have the same value. And I think measuring that, two things that I utilize anyway, well, one, I'll go to the local farmer, know where your food's coming from, that's a big deal. And then two, how does it taste? Does it taste really good? Have you not seasoned it? If you haven't really had to season it, then to me that's telling me that it's just chock full of what I want, like tomatoes, right? It's hard to find a good tomato nowadays, right? Yeah, carrots that taste like the earth. Unless it's in your own garden, it's super hard to experience that flavor profile, but then also how good do you feel? Things to food for thought. Yeah.
And what do you recommend for a treatment program to get started with acupuncture?
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily have to be with me. You're generally looking at 60 minutes. Everybody's sort of different the way they do their intake. My intake forms are pretty comprehensive. You're looking at about at least 30 minutes sitting down and really plugging in. The more information I have, the more that I can help you with. So that's something to take into mind. And then even still, you start with the protocols. It's still figuring out, okay, what's working, what's not, why not, and really developing other, platforms that will help you. It's determining your pattern. It's determining what foods you should be eating. It's not just the needling or the acupuncture treatment or the cupping, or it's the whole system, right? Financially, it's not necessarily cheap. So if you've got a financial burden, you might consider going to some of the local schools. There's 3 schools in Calgary. You won't be seen by a practitioner, but the students that would be working on you are supervised by the practitioner. Again, you'll get great people, and you'll get mediocre people, but that's like anything. I think in life, it doesn't matter if you're an expert or not. There's people that shouldn't, right? So, and those costs, I mean, I can't speak for the school anymore, but when I was there, I think it was like $20 a treatment. That's fair. I'm expensive. It's like $90 for 60 minutes, you know. Consider all that. You know, it's definitely something to focus on. And then, like, what do you have for your benefits? So a lot of time people do not use their benefits, and this is where I was talking about again, like, you got chiro, use your chiro, use your massage. Like, don't not use your benefits. It's crazy. You should never have. They don't carry over. At least none that I know of. You pay for that, and it's an investment in yourself. You know? Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Or it's a lot. Sorry.
It's a whole lot more than I expected.
I was trimming the fat there. Traditional Chinese medicine, part of the foundations of like when we're educated are starting in the basis of like we start with the ancient texts and understanding the origins of, you know, how this all developed, and then there's a maintaining of consistency, and then it's written. But things are still being updated. Like I talked a little bit about with the herbs, you know, there's like 849 different herbs. 300 of them are being used now for a variety of different reasons. Some are extinct, some are known to be toxic, you know, so they've been omitted. So that stuff always is being monitored. Now it's really cool because we've got Western medicine to be doing this stuff at the same time. You know, the complexity when you start getting into herbs is how are they manufactured? We start looking at the biochemical compounds of what's happening is when you enter this ingredient with this ingredient, certain things happen. But then what's the timing, the temperature, and then when I add this other herb into it, what changes there? One of my teachers who has her PhD in herbology spent 20 years with 100 different practitioners working on one formula to end with figuring out that it did what she knew all along, which is what was the traditional Chinese pattern. So cool, and I'd support this in breaking down the biomechanics and the pathways of like how this is happening, but then at the same time we've got a system that's integrated that we know works based off of what we're seeing with sort of these breakdowns of diagnosis. Does that sort of help? Kind of little.
Still keeping up.
Yeah.
Just along the line of changes in Alberta Health Services and how they're looking at things, I got this last week from the government, provincial government. I encourage Albertans to visit Alberta Health Services Review, provide their ideas on how Alberta Health Services can reduce costs and improve health services. I'm happy to send that this email to you guys if you're interested in it. Yeah, I can do that. It's simple, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, prevention is really the key. We're really working within a reactionary
They'll cover
system.
every prescription out there, but they won't cover.
Right. Yeah, that's something to note too, I guess, is the acupuncture will be covered, but the herbs won't. So, yeah, that sucks. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you post your material again for your website? I was just going to take a look.
Oh yeah, just erikacupuncture.com or this one?
And the books as well. Yeah, thank you so
The books? Oh yeah, totally.
much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.